Hi everyone, welcome back. This is week 15, assignment 2. So after this, you should be ready, hopefully, to take that showcase of learning number 18, or number 4, sorry. And so it will be up to you. You need to contact your teacher to see about how you're going to get that done. So right now, this is day 2. So you should have looked into day 2 for week 15, and this is assignment 2, what you would have printed up. Just a note, there are the answers there that you can check as well, and we're going to do the same thing that we did in assignment 1. We're going to be doing the first 6 together, and then I'm going to ask that you complete the last 4 on your own, okay? So we're going to factor each completely, which means we need everything to be in standard form, which when I look at the 6 problems, in fact, every problem on this page, everything's in standard form. But what's not going to happen all the time is the leading term is positive. So just remember, when the leading term is negative, when we go for that GCF, we're going to have to factor out a negative number. And that's exactly what happens here. So the first thing I'm going to do is, since this is negative, I'm guaranteed to factor out a negative. And now I'm going to look for a number that goes into 3 and 27 and 60. And you can always use that multiplication chart factor page. I don't have that with me at the moment. But I can take a 3 out of all of these. So when in doubt, look at the smallest number and see if it goes into the other 2. And if it can, then that is the GCF as far as the number goes. And then I would look to see if I can take an x from every term, which I can't. So we are ready to start the GCF process. So negative 3 times what makes this whole term? So 1 makes the negative 3, and it still has its x's. And negative 3 times what makes this positive 27? Well, that would be a negative 9, and it still has its x. And negative 3 times what makes negative 60? That is a positive 20 with no x at all. So from here, ignoring that GCF, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to use a sticky note this time, and I am going to cover up that GCF. This has nothing to do with what I want to do now. Once I do the GCF, I want to look at what's in the parentheses. And since there are 3 terms, that is where we make our x and our parentheses. So starting the x, I'd multiply those for 20x squared, and my middle term will go in the bottom. And now I'm going to look at factors of 20 that get me to negative 9. So if you look at that list of 20, hopefully you notice that 4 and 5 will somehow get us to negative 9. So positive 4 and positive 5 make 9. So if I make these both negative, then I can get the negative 9. So I'm going to go ahead and make my parentheses. And I like to put my x's in there right away. And if you remember that this x and this x make the x squared. So if you want the numbers that make 1, just put 1 and 1. And now I'm going to draw my face, top of the head and the smile, to make these side numbers. These numbers aren't important anymore. And these are both 1. And they can both make either of these. So I'll have 1 follow this loop to make negative 4. So 1 times negative 4 makes the negative 4. The x is already there. And then 1 will follow this loop to make the negative 5x. And I just need a negative 5 because the x is already built in. And then if you remember, bring that GCF down into your final answer. So now this is completely factored. We have all 3 factors. Let's take a look at number 2. So number 2 runs into the same issue that number 1 did. Our leading term is negative, so I'm definitely going to factor out a negative, and then the number that goes into 2 and 10 will be this 2. And I can also take a b from each term. So now negative 2 times what makes negative 2? Well, that's just 1. And then I took one of these b's away, so there's 1 b left. And so now negative 2 times what makes negative 10? That's a positive 5. And I took this b away, so there are no more b's for that term. So now I'm going to cover up my GCF and look at what's in the parentheses. So in the parentheses, this time there are 2 terms, and when there are 2 terms, we're going to check to see for that difference of squares. So the first thing I look for is difference, which this is addition. Difference means there's subtraction, and this is addition. So automatically, I'm done. Can't do any more. So as far as factoring here, the only factoring we could do was just the GCF, so that problem's done. All right, I'm going to jump down to this one then, number 4. So the first thing I'm going to look for is a GCF, and this is the smallest number. And although 6 doesn't go into all of these, there's a number smaller than that goes into all of them. So if it's not this number, remember it's always smaller than 6. And 3 can go into all of these. So I'm going to factor a 3 out, and 3 times 3 is the 9 with its x squared. 3 times negative 7 is the negative 21 with its x, and 3 times 2, positive 2, is 6 with no x. So again, I'm going to cover up this GCF, and now I'm going to make my x from here. And the reason why I'm making the x is because there are 3 terms, not 2 terms. So if I multiply those, I get 6x squared on top and negative 7x in the bottom. And the only factors of 6 that can get me to 7 will be 1 and 6. So 1 and 6, both being positive, make positive 7. So to make negative 7, I'll actually need them both to be negative. So again, just keeping this covered up, I'm going to make my factors for my parentheses, put my x's in, because this x and this x so far are making the x squared. We just need the numbers to make 3, and that would be 1 and 3. So I'm going to make my face, top of the head, and the smile to get these numbers, not these. And 1 can get both of these. I can take 1 times negative 1 to get here, and 1 times negative 6 to get here. So 1's not very picky, but 3 can only make this number. So I'm going to follow this loop, and I need a negative 6, so I know I'm going to have at least a negative there. So 3 times negative 2 make the negative 6x, which means 1 will follow this loop to make negative 1. So you definitely need a negative, and then negative 1 makes that number. And then if you remember, bring back that GCF into your final answer. All right, let's take a look at 3. So again, starting with the GCF, 10 is my smallest number, but 10 doesn't go into those. So if it's not 10, it's going to be smaller than 10. And the smallest number under 10 that goes into all 3 of these is going to be a 2. And then they don't all have V's, so I'll just take a GCF of 10 out. Or sorry, 2 out. So 2 times 5 is 10 with the V squared. 2 times negative 18 is negative 36 with its V, and 2 times 9, positive 9, is this 18 with no V. Covering up that GCF again, I'm going to make my x because there are 3 terms. So multiplying those, that's the top, and then negative 18 is on the bottom, and I changed it to x, but oh well. So now when I look at my list of 45, 45 is a little bit longer. So the 2 numbers that will get me there will be a 15 and a 3. And since 15 and 3 make 18, negative 15 and negative 3 will have to make negative 18. So from there, I'm going to make my parentheses and put the v's in. If you've switched it over to x, that's okay. And the v and v make v squared, and 1 and 5 will make 5v. So I'm going to draw my face. There's the top of the head and the smile to make these numbers, not these. And again, like I said before, 1 can get me anything. So 5 is the pickier number, and 5 can only make this number. It can't make this number. So 5 times what will make negative 15? Well, I'll need a negative 3 to get there. And that means 1 will multiply to something to make negative 3, and that would be the negative 3. And then I'm revealing that sticky note. I'm going to bring that GCF of 2 down, and now you have completely factored this. All right, 2 more. So on this problem, looking for a GCF, again, I would start with the smallest number, and although 12 goes into 36, it doesn't go into 15. So I need a number smaller than that, and that number will be 3. I can't take an x from every term, so my GCF is just 3. So 3 times 4 is 12, and it still has all the x's. 3 times negative 12 is negative 36, still has the x, and 3 times positive 5 make positive 15 and no x. So as you can guess, I'm covering that 3 up, and there's 3 terms, so I'm about to make my x. So multiplying those, that's positive 20x squared on the top and negative 12x in the bottom. And so here the numbers that you'll see in your list are going to be 10 and 2. And positive 10 and positive 2 make positive 12. So if these are both negative, then I could get negative 12 when I add them. And I can still get positive 20 when I multiply them. So here we go, making my list. And again, x, put those x's in. And now I'm going to switch to a pencil because I want to point out what's going to happen with the 4. So when I choose the numbers that give me 4, I could pick 1 and 4, or I can pick 2 and 2. So I'm going to start with 1 and 4 to make these numbers, not these. And 1, again, is not picky, but 4 is. And 4 cannot give me either of those. So as it turns out, I don't want to use the numbers 1 and 4 to make 4. Instead, I want to switch it to 2 and 2, because 1, 2 can make this number and the other 2 can make this number. So that's what we're going to use. So draw my head. And 2 times what can make negative 10x? Well, that would be a negative 5. And that 2 with this loop will make negative 2x, and 2 times negative 1 will get you the negative 2 there. And then bring back that GCF. And there you go. All right, last one. So this is similar to the first two problems in that our leading term is negative. So I'll definitely have to take out a negative. And then the number that goes into 12, 24, and 9, this is the smallest number, but it doesn't go into either of these. So now it's got to be smaller than 9, and that will be a 3. And I can't take x's from everybody. So now let's start our GCF. Negative 3 times positive 4 make negative 12 with x squared. Negative 3 times positive 8 makes negative 24 with its x. And negative 3 times positive 3 makes this negative 9. So cover up that GCF, make our x. So I need factors of 12. That will get me to 8. And these are both positive, so I'll have positives here, and you'll see that that is 6 and 2. So now, going to here, put my x's in, and I'll have to remember that this and this make the x squared, but I need the numbers that make 4. So this time I'm going to write those numbers over here, 1 and 4, 2 and 2. And remember, these numbers have to make these, not these. And although 1 can make both of these, 4 can't make either of these. So that's why this set is out. So again, we're going to use 2 and 2, because 2 can make 6 and 2 can make 1. So the 2 and the 2 make the 4x squared. Here goes the base. And since these are both 2, I'll have this 2 make 6. So 2 times a positive 3 makes 6. And 2 times a positive 1 make 2. Drop that GCF back down. And now you have factored completely. So your job now is to do the next 4, and then you can check your answers through that Schoology page for day 2.